Hi guys, today I'm very fortunate to be with Delia Ursulescu, who I have coined the phrase of the Amazon Queen because of her work and how successful her business is in Amazon. So Delia, welcome.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Delia, for the people who don't know you, and maybe you could give us a little bit of your background, where you're from, and how you've arrived at where you are just now.
Yes, I studied philosophy and religions, and after getting a graduate degree, I couldn't find a position. I had some health issues, and somehow, from one thing to the other, I found making money online as the niche. So I started looking at how to make money online, started making money with web design, just enough to get by. And then I discovered Amazon. I bought a course. I had, after paying for the course, me and my friend, we only had $250 left to invest in products. So we were not doing well at that point. This was 2013. So that $250 was kept being reinvested, and we got to $250,000 within about 18 months of launching our first product imported from China. And from there, that opened up all kinds of doors. We continued to work on our brands, and then started to pick up these random clients who had products and needed help on Amazon. So we have a few different clients. We've been working with them since, we've been working with them for a few years now. And one thing led to another, launching our own products, doing wholesale, partnering with other businesses, open up all kinds of doors. So now I'm involved in both e-commerce and partnering with other businesses like local business. So everything together has generated probably over 8 figures just on Amazon, between all of the different things. And some of our clients are 5-figure clients. They just have one product. They wanted to add it on Amazon. We help them. I've worked with 8-figure clients, just doing marketing with them or improving the process in their business. They had a successful business, but they needed our help to improve the process to make sure things go well. So we've done a little bit of everything. And my desire in choosing to do a lot of different things was to really discover what I'm good at and while making money. I figure it's a good way to do it. Test, experiment, make money at the same time. And that's why I tried a lot of different things. Importing from China, selling wholesale, digital marketing, selling e-commerce or digital products. All kinds of different things just to discover what is it that I'm good at. And I landed with e-commerce. I figure that's the easiest way for me to make money. And for the last couple of years, I made the decision to focus more on e-commerce and Amazon in particular.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there, Delia, and I'm going to try and walk through that. And off camera, we were just talking, and what's very impressive about you is you're doing a PhD, as well as running an 8-figure business. But you mentioned that you had some health problems and then studied philosophy. Was that related to each other? Did you study philosophy because you had a health problem?
No, I was finishing my grad degree, my master's degree, and I had a surgery that didn't go well that same year when I finished the grad school. So it just happened that I had some health issues that kept me from being able to work a lot. So for about 6 months, I wasn't doing well at all. And then I just got better. It wasn't something that lasted for a long time. And at that point, it was difficult to find a job because I had a master's degree. Sometimes you're overqualified for certain positions, so people wouldn't give me the job because I was, I guess, overqualified. That's what pushed me into just finding a way to make money on my own.
You think that search for people who are interested in philosophy are looking for answers sometimes, or they're looking for something, that natural curiosity, do you think that's what helped you in building your Amazon business?
For sure, that had a lot to do with it. but that was also a weakness in a way because it always made me want to look for something better rather than just focus. Once I had a proven blueprint, I know I've lost a lot of money by not focusing on that proven blueprint and just building a business. I never really wanted to build a business where I have people under me that I manage. So until about 2.5 years ago, that was not even on my radar. I was not willing to build a business where I had people under me to manage because I didn't want to deal with people.
Sure.
I enjoy the challenge of figuring things out, of finding a new way to make money, not necessarily to make money. I discovered that actually making money is not very motivating to me. And I discover other people are the same. But finding solutions to problems was very motivating. And so to kind of wrap up the answer, it was a strength in one way, but at times it was a weakness because it made me look for more different ways to make money rather than doing the boring things of researching product, launching them, making money, and repeating the process. We had a proven process at one point, and I didn't stick to it. I kept looking for something else out of curiosity. I don't know.
It's human nature.
I guess.
And I guess that idea of Maslow's hierarchy is that once you've established that, you have some security, then you can focus on things higher up the pyramid. Now, going from $250 to $250,000 in 18 months is meteoric. So how did you do that? How did that happen? I mean, was it because you followed everything in that course and that got you to 250, or that was the starting point and then you invented stuff?
It was mainly following the process. We imported products from China, launched them on Amazon, then reinvested all the profit into buying more units or more inventory. The reason we were able to do it is because our ROI was really high, somewhere around 200, 250%. So for every dollar I invested in a product, I made about $2 or $2.5. And that's what allowed us to go from a low amount to $250,000 in revenue. I think at that point we were making about 6 figures in profit, just profit, because it was me and my business partner. We didn't have any employees, really no overhead whatsoever other than our laptop and cell phone bill. Really, that's it. That's all we needed to run an Amazon business. And that's still all we need to run an Amazon business. There's nothing else because the product stays either at an Amazon warehouse or at one of our partner warehouses. We have partnered with other people who have warehouses, so we don't have to have a warehouse. Everything can be run from anywhere in the world, just sitting in front of a computer. And now we've improved and refined the process, so it's much easier even to know what to expect. We've made a lot of mistakes. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of money too.
But you also, the way that you said it there is, yeah, we got some products in China and then we brought them in and it's a high ROI. It sounds simple, but there's like a lot going on there. So let's walk through that for the people who are listening and are interested in, getting involved with you or starting their own Amazon business. How did you find a product that you first wanted to do? And how did you organize that from China? Because dealing with China can be notoriously difficult, so how did you overcome those things?
Yeah, those are good questions. And it is a simple process, but of course, obstacles come up for everyone. Nowadays, we have access to all kinds of tools and businesses and people who can help in the process. First, the research part. We went to Amazon and just looked for products that are currently selling. And then some of the tools that are available out there have aggregated the data to give us an idea of how many people search for a specific keyword. So let's say wrist wraps. That was one of the products we were selling. Just the wraps you put around your wrist. We were selling $50,000 worth of wrist wraps a month at one point. So we identify what people are looking for using these tools that are now available to us. And all of those numbers are approximations. They're not set in stone, but at least we have an idea. 7,000 people are typing wrist wraps on Amazon, or 5,000 people are typing wrist wraps for weightlifting. I'm making things up because I don't remember the numbers, but that's what the tools allow us to discover. I mean, this is an amazing time in the history of the world to launch a business, because we have data to show us what people are looking for, and we have data we can look at the competitors, we can see what they're doing, how many reviews do they get every month, how many approximations, how many sales do they generate per month, and that gives me an idea of the market on Amazon. So let's say all the competitors together sell 10,000 units of wrist wraps per month. Well, I only need to get 3% of that every month to do a significant amount of money just with one simple item, because wrist straps are really, really light. So shipping them is easy. And that's why we go for products that are lighter. Every person who sells on Amazon has a different type of strategy, but I like the smaller, easy to ship, it doesn't cost a lot. Those are good starting points. So once we discover a potential product, we made a list. And then we used Alibaba initially. That's what we did, Alibaba.com, and we started sending messages. That was a pain because it's a lot of work. So I came up with this idea. Why don't I hire a sourcing agent using Upwork? My first job online was on Upwork. It was called Odesk before that.
That's
and
right.
I got my first research position or research job on Odesk. A consulting firm in DC hired me to do some research for them. So I knew about Odesk. I figured, let me go to Odesk, Upwork, and post a job for a sourcing agent in China, because I heard about it somewhere. I don't know where. And I found a few people who do that type of job. They contact companies. So I said, hey, I'll pay you $100 if you get me samples from 3 suppliers that sell this type of product. This is what I need. And so I paid somewhere between $75 and $100 per product to get 3 samples and the quotes from suppliers. So the agent did most of the work. That's where I started to enjoy the business, because communicating with suppliers in China was a pain. Sometimes the English wasn't good and we couldn't understand each other. So this way, I had all the communication was passed through the agent who had better English. So the agent would talk to the supplier and then send us the questions, and we went back and forth. After that, when we started to make more money, we hired companies, sourcing companies in China, who charge usually more, but they handle everything, the sourcing, the quality control, making sure the products get to the port and then they get shipped, or if they get shipped by air, they handle all that process. So it cost, I think, somewhere around $1,000 for a company to do that. And we didn't go with like the best company, but the company we chose ended up being quite good. So those are 3 ways. If someone doesn't have money, well, you have to do it on Alibaba. It's time consuming. It's not hard. It's just time consuming. If you have $100, $200 extra, pay a sourcing agent to be the middle person. And if you have $1,000, $2,000, then pay a company, and they do an even better job, and they negotiate even more for you. So that makes it a lot easier, right? I don't have to go to China. I don't have to handle the whole process myself.
Have you ever been to China?
I have not. I have not. This is not the time to fly anyway. But yes, we do have to go to China, either myself or my business partner, in the near future, because it changes things. We usually get better terms and better prices. I know it from friends who have done it. They went to China, ended up getting much better terms. So for someone who's able to go to China, it's always better.
And would you say your experience of dealing with China has been generally good? Have you had any, some people have nightmare stories, but what's your experience?
Yes, so that's a good question. We did buy a book. I think we paid $150, and I don't remember the title off the top of my head. But whenever we had a question, my business partner and I always tried to pay to buy either a course or a book or something to help us find answers to our questions. So remember in that book, the author was telling us, was sharing some horror stories, and they outlined what to look for and what to ask. We had one story, one experience where it wasn't really, I don't know if it was the manufacturer's fault or our fault, but the way we had the product made ended up being hazardous. It was one of those clips that attaches to the pacifier, and it had a really small plastic piece that was glued, but it would fall off after a while. And this was something that little kids would have, right? Toddlers, kids who have, babies who have a pacifier. So it was a dangerous product. We didn't want to have the liability. So we ended up throwing away 4,000 units or 5,000 units. So that was a loss. And then one time I invested in a good product, but we didn't really have any money left to market it. So I ended up just being left off with the product. It was too competitive. So those are two mistakes. In terms of manufacturing, we learned to be a lot more careful and test the product, try to pull it apart before we order more units, which we didn't really do a lot because our first products were really simple. There was not much that could go wrong. So overall, I didn't have bad experiences.
If you bring products in from China to, say, the US, are most products okay to just be sold, or do some of the products need to go through some kind of government body to check that they're safe?
That's a really good question. It depends on the category of the product. I would never really bring food from China or other countries. You need more licenses and special approvals. Any health and body product might require certain additional licenses or tests. So I always go for simple products. Nothing that goes inside the body, nothing that goes for babies. I don't sell in the baby market because of the liability.
Yeah.
At least not anymore.
Parents can be touchy.
Right, right. So there are certain categories that are more difficult, more, you have to be careful, harder to get
It's
the
interesting
approval.
that you say you like small things. I've got a friend last year who sells mugs, unique mugs though, and he sold 350,000 euros of mugs. I mean, he told me, I just couldn't believe it, that there was that much money in selling mugs. But what I did learn from
I have this mug that I designed myself in December. I was just trying to test this, and we sold 600 units of this. It just says 2020 Survivor. I didn't expect it to sell, honestly, but I figured, hey, let me try it. I see all of these people have these products that say 2020 something, 2020 Survivor. So I tried my hand at it and sold
600 units.
700.
Good for you. But one of the things I did learn from him was that you can have a product that's a good product, list on Amazon, and you're still invisible. It's kind of like building a website and expecting traffic. It doesn't happen. So how do you, once you've got that product, have you got some kind of special ninja trick that gets you more recognized?
Yes, that's the hardest part of the whole process. Doing the research, finding the supplier, getting samples, that is actually the easy part of the process. Launching your product is the harder part of the process. And if someone has a list, launching a product on Amazon is extremely easy because you just go to your email list and say, hey, I have this product on Amazon, get it on Amazon for 50% off, or you can give a full rebate. So they pay full price, but they get a full rebate by just going through a flow that you can build out. There are tools that automatically can check if someone purchased a product, if the order ID is accurate, and then sends them a gift card for supporting the launch of the business. So people who have a list can launch a product easily. And as
maybe
Amazon
you could just explain that full rebate thing.
Yes. So if I find 300 people who are interested in my mug, let's say, and I say, hey, if you buy this mug for 15 bucks, I will give you in return a $15 gift card on Amazon that you can use to purchase anything else. So it's a full rebate for just supporting us, because it doesn't really work with mugs, but just let us know, what do you think of the product? So that's the selling point. And we do want to know what the buyers think about the product. If someone doesn't have a list, then we would have to do ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, some other type of ads where we present our offer. Hey, get the product for free, literally, because you get a gift card in return. And that pushes the product in front of other products on Amazon. So we start to get all of these sales, which makes the algorithm notice us. And then once the algorithm notices the product, we also do Amazon ads at the same time. So the ads are targeted for specific keywords that are relevant. If someone types 2020 Survivor mug, my mug is going to show up on Amazon at the top through the PPC ads. So then we get extra traffic from there. And if the person has a good product, that's why it matters to have a good product, good pictures. If the person has a good product, then it's going to convert. Amazon tends to convert really well, or products on Amazon tend to convert pretty well. We have conversion rates anywhere from 10% to 50%.
Wow,
on
that's
Amazon.
fantastic.
The more work we put into creating a really great listing, the better our conversion rate is. Also, the traffic we send to the listing determines the conversion rate. If someone's looking for, I don't know, a bowl or a cup, and I'm putting a mug in front of them, they're not gonna convert. So the type of traffic we generate is going to impact conversion. Then the listing, how well the listing is, how good it looks. Are the images great? Is the description appropriate? So those are things that we have to do, right? Because once someone lands on our listing, we want to make sure we convert them into buyers. And that's done while we wait for the product. We work on the listing and the pictures. And someone can just use Fiverr or Upwork really to get most of that done. You don't even have to know. At this point, there's so many providers for services to work on Amazon, to get your product on Amazon, that you can find people for pretty cheap. Now, the problem is you don't know for sure if they're good, so that's why I don't recommend it unless you know what you're looking for. When you know what you're looking for, you can find a good provider, a service provider that won't cost you an arm and a leg.
And you mentioned that you use some tools. You don't need to give away all of your secrets, but maybe you could just mention one or two tools that people could use to do some research.
Yes, I don't have a problem sharing what we do, because there's so much opportunity out there. It doesn't affect me. Helium 10 is the one we use the most. There are Jungle Scout is another one. I haven't used Jungle Scout in a long time, so I can't really talk about it anymore. But Helium 10, HELIUM 10.com is the one we use the most, and it has keyword research. It allows one to put the product identifier. So if you find a competitor's product, you take that product identifier, which is called an ASIN, you input that into the tool, and then the Helium 10 is going to tell you on how this product ranks on Amazon. So it's number 1 ranked for keyword A, it's number 3 for keyword B. And those positions tell us, right, what generates the sales for the competitor. Because if a product is on page 1, we know that gets them sales. If the product is on page 20, that's not going to get them any sales. So we can reverse engineer what the competitors are doing using Helium 10. And everybody else does it, everyone else who does it successfully. But there's just so much opportunity out there, so many different products and golden gaps that people can go after. You can yeah, you can spend weeks and weeks just looking at data and find opportunities every day.
Well, how long did it take you? I mean, you say from when you started for that first $250 to reaching over 8 figures, over $10 million, how long was that time?
Yeah, that's a good question. The revenue I've generated is revenue divided between our brand and the client brand, where we get a commission. So it's all those added together in, I'm not sure how long it took, but it was a few years to get to that point. So I have a partner, right, that generated $1 million on Amazon last year. I get a commission out of it because I help them. So all added together is not just the products I sell. All of that added together makes up the total. Yeah.
All right. So let's say that it's. Let me just ask you: you say your partner, but do you have a team? Because to run, an 8-figure business usually would be very hard to do with just 2 people. Have you got a core team of people who help you?
Usually, yes, you need a team. We have partnerships with a warehouse that handles all our shipping, incoming shipping and outgoing shipping. Whenever we ship from overseas, we send stuff to Amazon, and then most of the stock goes to our shipping partner. So they get paid to store, and there's only one assistant that has to manage the process, making sure, hey, there's something that is going to come, these many units. We need to ship 200 units to Amazon. We're launching. So it's a lot of back and forth through emails. We use companies to do the sourcing for us. I'm currently testing using a company to do some of the marketing. I'm out of curiosity to see is it worth it? Because remember, I'm the type of person that never wanted to have a team under me. So I'm always looking for ways to minimize the cost when it comes to building a team for me. Now, what I've done recently, I have partnered with people who have teams. So one of my partners who prints the mugs, so we do the mugs, they print and ship and all that stuff. They have a local business, they have employees, so they just added a few hours for a few employees on their schedules, like, hey, on Tuesday you print mugs, on Wednesday you do this. So I partnered with them because I knew they have employees and we just share in the profits. There's me and another person manages marketing, and then my business partner and an assistant manages the logistics. But we have built it in such a way that a lot of it is done through different providers. So we don't have to hire too many people. But I think ideally a person would need to have, if they don't want to be involved a lot, you need to have probably 4 or 5 people on the team. Me and my business partner are still involved, and we run a lot of the tasks.
You mentioned.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. I didn't let you finish.
Because we made some mistakes. Yeah. One is because we made a lot of mistakes. We lost money, so we had to kind of come back into refining our process and making sure that won't happen again.
And it's amazing, actually, you can do that with such few people now with technology. That's incredible. But you mentioned customers. So what would a typical customer for you be? I mean, if somebody was listening to this and they're thinking, well, that's really interesting, how do they work with you, and what's the sort of avatar, the perfect avatar for you?
Yes, that's a good question again. There are a few different ways. Right now, this year, I am looking to hire 2 more people, one to handle part of the marketing that I'm doing, and one to help my business partner. We have an assistant helping, but just to have a second person that knows all the processes. So at this point, that's my focus. But when it comes to working with clients, we love working with people who have really great products. If they have patents on the product, is even better because there's no competition. We have a handful of those. So if a person has a good product and they want to leverage Amazon, they have a budget to market their product. Like we mentioned before, launching a product is a costly endeavor because we have to give away products or do ads that ends up costing money from a few $1,000 to like $10,000. That tends to be the budget for most people to go from non-existent on Amazon to being one of the top competitors. Of course, it depends what the price of the product is, but someone who has a good product and a good quality product and has a small budget, at least a few $1,000s, that tends to be a good client for us. We always have that conversation if that comes along. And I've discovered that the best type of client is a person I enjoy working with. I just had to fire a client about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, because she would email us every week these long questions. It was not worth it. She had a product that was patented, a unique product that I think could have grown a lot. However, it was not worth the mental stress that she added to our lives. And my business partner handled most of it, and she just couldn't take it at one point. So I said, why are you keeping her as a client if she's causing so much stress? Because we would make suggestions, and then she wouldn't follow our suggestions to, let's say, bundle 2 products together. And then she was upset that the sales didn't increase. We're like, well, to increase sales, first you need to invest into your product, and 2, you need to experiment. And not everything we say is going to work out, but if you're not willing to experiment, it's not going to work out. So all that to say, if a client doesn't have at least somewhat of a budget, a few $1,000s, a good product, and is not willing to experiment, is not an easy person to work with, I'm not interested. But if the person's easy to work with, I'm always interested to having a conversation.
And let's say that you've got a client who's got a good product. They've got a good product, it's patented, they've got a budget of $10,000. Is it a done-for-you solution, or is it more of a consultative role?
Most of our clients is done for you or done with you, because they still manage the inventory, sending inventory to Amazon. That tends to be their main focus, and customer service. So they usually understand their product better than we do. So they tend to answer any questions that come from customers. On Amazon, that doesn't happen a lot. We might get a handful of questions every few months, but we need them to commit to customer service and inventory levels, make sure that we always have inventory at Amazon. And we do most of everything else, the marketing, the listings, and we work together on that process. Most of my clients are commission-based, so if I make them money, they pay us a commission based on their Amazon sales. We do sales off of Amazon through Facebook ads and funnels, but that's not our focus. That would require me to hire a couple more people and improve the process, which is something I'm working on this year. But my strength is Amazon, and my team's strength. We do have, when you ask about the team, we don't have a big team, but we have freelancers that we might use when needed if we have more work than we can handle. Overall, though, we're pretty set. We have pretty good processes. Once we establish them, we know what needs to get reviewed every week, every month. We just need to have like an assistant or a trained person handle it.
And what sort of commission would you charge someone in order to do that?
Our average commission is 15% of the Amazon payout. So the revenue that you may generate on Amazon is one number. Amazon takes their own cut out of it. So then what's left, that's the Amazon payout. We take 15% of the Amazon payout. In general, that tends to be the commission we have set with most of our clients. It depends on the profit
Sure.
margin, the type of product. There are a few different things that have changed our agreement with some people, but overall it tends to be 15%.
Mhm. And I can say that you know, if some of the businesses that I've been involved with, if someone gave me a done for you or a done with you solution and said they would only charge in 15% and 10 grand of a budget, it's just unbelievable. I don't think people understand that there are people and companies like yours out there. I mean, because why go through all of that headache when it's already, there's a roadmap there. So I think that's fantastic. The and what about, are you in a position to take more clients? Because I know you're pretty busy.
Right. We usually only accept like one client every couple of months. That gives us enough time to uh, manage the process well and add the clients. We have a couple of assistants that are working on things and get trained on more processes. But yeah, I'm at that point where I'm trying to decide: do I want to grow and hire more people, or do I just want to build my own company? Because the one approach is build a brand, get it to 7 figures, sell it at a multiple, right? And that can be done within a couple of years with a little bit of investment. Do I want to do that? And of course, to sell it, we would have to have the assistants and everyone trained so that they go with the business. It's
And that's kind of how we met, because we are both in mergers and acquisitions and the Epic Group.
Right.
And I know time's moving on. I do want to get to some other questions so that people can get to know you better. What inspires you as a person?
That's a great question. I've learned that I enjoy seeing other people succeed. As weird as that may sound, my own success doesn't really matter as much as seeing that I can help someone else succeed is extremely, extremely motivating. It allows me to wake up in the morning with joy and excitement for the day. So some of our first clients were really small business owners. Them partnering with us was almost life-changing. One of them said for them, because one of them said he was struggling to pay rent. So he had a small business selling these products, but he wasn't doing well. He was going to trade shows, trying to run a whole business by himself. We added $100,000 in sales within the first 12 months, and it cost him about $5,000 really upfront, so almost nothing upfront, and it kind of changed his business. Then our second client said, "You've made my slowest month being one of the best months. I love you." So hearing that from clients has been really, really motivating. And if I don't have a good process, if I don't keep up with what's going on, if I'm not able to continue to get those type of results, I won't be able to help those types of clients. So I've been attracted to small to medium sized businesses for that reason, because of the impact it can have. So helping people in that way has always been really interesting. I do believe we all have a purpose. We were created for a purpose. I believe that everyone has strengths and skills that are supposed to contribute to the human flourishing, and we can do it in different ways. Mine is to ask hard questions at times and challenge people to think about other things when it comes to business, to help small, medium-sized businesses to sell more so that they can add some stability to their business. So because of that, because I do believe people have a purpose, we were created with a purpose, I'm always trying to refine my skill sets so that I can accomplish the purpose I can accomplish as a person. Each one of us has their own way of impacting others. So I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it
I'm
does.
kind of right there.
Which brings me to, and it's a kind of two-part question, is um, after having gone through the journey that you've done, what do you think it takes to succeed? I mean, when you're talking to somebody, a client initially, are you looking for something in that person that will tell you, or they're going to go the distance? And so it's kind of both a personal thing that what do you think it takes to succeed, and what do you look at in others to see whether they're a good fit?
Great question. Usually what I've noticed is that people are willing to experiment and test and work hard. It ends up working. In terms of business success, having a proven system seems to be the thing that matters the most. So if we think of businesses and the different cycles or stages in the business, there's the hustle mode where we work really hard trying to just figure things out, just make it, just survive. After the hustle mode, we get to like the traction mode where we're finally selling a little bit, we're making a little bit of money, but not enough. But at that point, we have an idea of what's needed to succeed. We just have to keep working on that system. Just literally just keep doing the process over and over. After the traction mode, I see the optimize mode seems to be like the third stage where we're starting to optimize that process. We look at the pillars that make our business in the Amazon world is research, source, launch, and maintain. So we start to really refine those processes. And if it gets to a point that I can completely outsource it and I'm not needed to run the process, that means I got that third stage figured out. And then there's scaling mode. That's where we can partner with other people. We can add more products. We can do a lot of different things, build our audience and build a relationship with potential buyers, nurture that relationship, really takes us to the scale mode. So in terms of success, at each stage, we need different things. But overall, a person who is willing to keep testing, keep trying, they're open to new ideas, those people tend to do better. That's my experience.
I think there's a whole philosophy there in just what you said: hustle, traction, optimize. You could probably build a whole business model there. Are you the sort of person who's very systematic when you wake up, your structure for the day? Have you got it all planned, or is it kind of, just as you go, you plod along, or how do you run your day?
Yes, when I started working, I was working 15-hour days, 12, 15-hour days, just because I didn't know what I'm doing. I just tried everything. It wasn't sustainable. And then I started to have some success, and I figured, well, I got to a point where all I did was just check sales, and it was nice, but it was hard because there was no challenge there. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to schedule my day. So I read a lot of books. I took courses on how to become more productive and how to set goals, everything you can think of. Read a lot of different things. And I realized this is what I've learned. Every person is different. So we have to listen to other people who have been successful and try to discern if that applies to us as a person. I tend to be more of a thinker. So my weakness is that I can overthink most processes. So I do tend to be systematic about a process, but my weakness is I tend to think a little too long before I take action. So I had to learn to balance that a little bit, thinking and doing, because if we don't do, we're not going to accomplish anything. So after testing a lot of different things, I've discovered that if I use the 12-week plan, that tends to work best for me. So every 2 weeks, 12 weeks, come up with the top 4 or 5 projects and then divide it into weeks. And then every week I know, okay, I have to get this done. This is the project I'm working on. This is the step I'm on. I need to complete it. I don't like to have a super structured day. I don't do well with super structured days. It drives me nuts. I want to have some freedom there. So I've discovered that works for me. It doesn't work for other people. They need to have very, very much, a lot of structure. So I like a little bit of freedom, but I have to know what I'm doing. And I use journaling, morning pages. If you've heard the concept, just write for about 3
Yep.
pages every morning. And that allows me to process things and figure out if I'm focusing on the right thing. So morning pages with just a 12-week plan tends to work well for me.
Actually, I heard that something interesting about journaling was, I know there's been a lot said about it, but as humans, we're not really designed to have as much information as we do in our heads. It's more really about fight or flight. And journaling is one way to download that and analyze it, so it takes it away. But you mentioned books. If you were to recommend 2 of the most influential books you've ever read, it could be business or personal, what would those 2 books be?
Oh, that's hard because I love reading books. The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis was extremely influential, even though it's a weird book. The author is, it's fictional. The author is trying to put himself in the shoes of this demon, older demon, who is teaching his younger demon on how to tempt this patient, the human being. And he incorporates a lot of psychology and a lot of the conversations that go in our minds. It's a very interesting book. I don't know if most people would enjoy it, but that has been influential in my own life. So the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, anything by C.S. Lewis, he's harder to read the first time, but then after you get used to his style, it's easier. In terms of business books, I think Atomic Habits has been very influential by James Clear, because he made me understand that if I want to accomplish something, I have to become the type of person that accomplishes that thing. So I shouldn't think about losing weight. I should think of, what does a person who's slim do? How does a slim person act? And try to focus on those things. So it changes its identity focused goals rather than just trying to focus on outcome goals. I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to become a slim person. It changes a little bit the mindset. So Atomic Habits has been influential for that reason. Just allowed me to look at it differently.
That's interesting. C.S. Lewis, I mean, do you get that sense that he's heading towards Christianity or God? And he writes, I read somewhere that he found God because he assumed that after studying tribes, that people aspire to something bigger than themselves. And there tends to be that kind of flavor coming through when he writes.
Right. I am a Christian, so I do know he was an atheist for a large amount of his lifetime, and then he became a Christian because he just couldn't explain beauty and morality in a better way. The thing is, we look at the evidence that's out there, whatever evidence we have, our experiences, the experiences of other people. We're trying to explain it the best way we can. What's the best explanation that accounts for what we have? No one has a certain, we don't have certainty when it comes to talking about these big questions, but we try to find the best explanation. What accounts for the fact that we have joy and beauty and goodness in the world, the fact that we think certain things are really wrong and other things are right. Does that make sense if you don't have something that transcends the material? So I agree with him from that perspective, that something beyond this world can explain the morality better. And I've read a lot of meta-ethics. Meta-ethics deals with the different types of explanations philosophers give to morality. It's been fascinating to me. And I haven't really been convinced by atheists. Now, there are some atheists who are non-materialists, who say we cannot explain morality unless we posit something that's beyond this world, but they posit just a realm of moral values as existing out there. So it opens up a lot of interesting things. But when I look at, for instance, COVID emphasized how important relationships are, right? Relationships or the social nature of our existence is at the center of our lives. Well, what explains that better than the other alternatives? No one has a perfect answer. That's what some people don't understand. They just poke at everyone's answers, but they never come up with an answer. We all have to choose what we think explains best, and that's why I agree with C.S. Lewis on some of the things he says.
Yeah, I prefer people who are either one way or the other. They're either atheists or they believe. The agnostic in the middle, they can't pick a horse. I think that's the weaker of the arguments. But I know we're conscious of time, and I do want to get to the last two questions. And then I'll give details for people who are listening on how they can get in touch with Delia. What's been the 5 best minutes of your life? If you had to, I know it's a big question, but what pops into your head? What would be the 5 best minutes of your life so far?
Yeah, this might require me to kind of frame the answer, but I mentioned that I'm a Christian, and I do remember that day when I made that decision personally. Okay, I want to become a Christian. It was a long journey of asking a lot of difficult questions that brought me to that point. And when I made the choice, and I don't know how much of the story to say because we don't have a lot of time.
No, I'd like to hear it.
Okay, so I grew up in Romania, was a communist country. Most of my parents were Christian, and most of their relatives were put into prison for believing. So being a Christian in that world was costly. So I struggled with that. I was like, well, if a God exists, supposedly, that cares about these people, this makes no sense. Life is too hard. I don't like it. And at least intellectually speaking, it just felt like there's no reason to live. Most people have a pretty difficult existence. And now, there's a number of people who have a good life. It's small in comparison to the world, right? Anyway, I saw my parents going through all of these difficulties, and I kept asking questions, and I was depressed for a long time as a teenager, just trying to figure out what's the meaning of it all. So without kind of going in all of those questions and that journey, I've met a friend one time. I just happened to be at this person's house, and she was telling us a story of how she was saying that she prayed and she felt like God was giving her the strength and answer her prayers. Again, I can't go into details. And all of a sudden I realized, well, if that is true, if this type of God that you're talking about exists, it kind of makes sense for me to want to accept this God into my life. And there was this amazing joy that filled me after making that decision. I can't express it in words. It's really weird to explain the whole experience to someone else. But those 5 minutes, that joy, that is hard to describe. I've had joy and happiness and over the course of my life many times. But that intense joy I felt after making that decision, it is hard to describe. So I know for some people it sounds weird, but that's what came to mind when you asked me the question.
There's a certain amount of freedom in that commitment, I guess.
Yeah, we all have to choose, right, who we give our allegiance to, whether we realize it or not. The type of clothes we buy, the type of products we buy, everything is kind of giving allegiance to something. In my experience, right, we are sometimes, the existentialists would say, we are isolated from ourselves. There's this angst within ourselves, within relationships to other people, within our relationship to the world. Well, for me, the answer to alleviate or start to remove that angst and tension between on the inside, on the outside, has been a result of making that choice. So we all choose who's the authority that kind of guides how we choose what we choose in life. It's really weird at 2020, like you choose who guides you and your choices. But yes, there's a huge impact in that choice.
Good. The last question, what do you think is going to happen in the future? What's the future look like? Are you optimistic for the world and for yourself?
That's an interesting question. I think my personality is to be pessimistic, but overall, I'm not very pessimistic about the future because looking at the history of the world, I've always enjoyed reading history. We see these cycles and we see what gets people into trouble and then what leads to the destruction of societies and cultures. So there's always these big events that impact a lot of people, but there's always beauty and happiness and joy in the small things. And those people who, and there are a lot more people who discovered the joy in the day-to-day living than we realize. Is by being open, we start to notice these things. If we look at the big picture and we just think about all the crazy things that are happening, I live in the US. There's a lot of craziness that happened in the last 12 months. I don't even, when I think about it, sometimes I'm depressed, but overall, then I look at people in my life who, there's a couple that comes to mind, amazing people who always open their door to visitors and always have people over. They always have a good thing to say, a positive word for anyone who comes through their house. Like those types of people, they're not going to appear on the news.
Sure.
But I didn't notice, right, them or these small things that add to the quality of life until I started to ask the question and until I tried to figure out what's happening. Like, is this worth it? I did ask that question a lot of times. Is this really worth it? Why am I doing whatever I'm doing? Is there any hope? And hope has to be grounded in something objective. It cannot be just completely subjective. So my challenge to anyone is to find things that are objective to ground our hope in that. But I do think there is hope, and that the small impacts that I see in people around me kind of give me even more hope. And I know I remember even stories from my parents. They grew up in Romania, communist country, very poor, and there was always the community coming around. If something happened, there was always the community came around. And the beautiful stories I heard from them just encourages me. And I know there are people like that in every culture, in every society that try to do good. And that gives me hope. So kind of you're asking a lot of questions that can take a lot of time to discuss.
Each one of the questions is an interview by itself. But let me finish off by just sharing my screen and share. Let me know when you can see. And maybe you can just tell people how they can reach you.
Simplyconsulting.com, that's the website that I have set up. Like I told Mark, I usually get clients either through networking or word of mouth. So I don't really put a lot of work into the website. But that email, Delia at Simply Consulting, I check, and that's the best way to get in touch with me. If you have any questions or you want to pursue the conversation further, whether it's about Amazon or meaning, like Mark, you asked so many good questions.
Well, I think that I'll leave it up so that people can see. I think that this has been one of the most fascinating, best interviews, and I've enjoyed it so much, Delia. And I really appreciate that the candor and the honesty and sharing that information. A lot of people in your position won't tell anybody anything. It's like a secret. And you've been very forthright in describing how people can get started without any, potential gain. But I think what shines through more than anything else is your integrity and honesty. And I think that if you're in that market or want to be in that market, I can't think of or have met anybody that would be better to help you than Delia. So Delia, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the kind words. It was a pleasure. And thanks for putting up with me for listening to all those stories.
It was my pleasure. All right, guys. Thank you very much.